desirable to provide a path to citizenship for many immigrants who are in the United States today. As I pointed out, for Japanese Americans, they understand this concept because they, like other Asian Americans, were denied the right to become citizens. They were given this unique capacity. You know, again, when we study immigration history in the United States, I asked people, I said, do you know the significance of 1882 in immigration history? Does anybody know the significance of 1882 in immigration history? 1882, the United States passed the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. This was the first time in the history of the United States, was people from all over the world can come here. And in 1882, the United States said a group of people, you cannot come here because of your race and because of where you're coming from. And it was the Chinese that we did that. So maybe in 1882, the big debate there was like it is a little bit in our society today. Maybe it's not, we don't have anything against these Chinese immigrants, but we just have too many immigrants. We don't have enough jobs. We don't have enough resources. They take too much away from us. That's our problem. We don't have anything specific against them. Well, let me ask you this question. To what country do more people in the United States, it's true today actually, trace their heritage to than any other country? China, Ireland, Germany, Great Britain. Any more? Bueller? Germany. More Americans trace their ancestry to Germany than any other country. It's interesting, I went back and looked at the immigration figures. In 1882 was the peak year of Chinese immigration in the United States, 39,000. So it's a lot of people. So maybe you say, you know, it's not that we have a problem against the Chinese, but there are 39,000 coming. That was the peak year of German immigration to the United States up to that time. You know how many came? 300,000. So if it's just, does race matter? Is it just the numbers? We have the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. We don't have the German Exclusion Act of 1882. And finally, essentially, the Exclusion Act for the Chinese in 1882 were ultimately extended until in 1924 to influence all Asians. A lot of people wonder why the Asian population has grown so much recently, and it has. Part of it is because of the way in which immigration is done, but part of it is essentially for 40-something years, people like myself, Japanese Americans, who really come to the United States in any form, really, until the 1950s, they were essentially shut out for a 30-year period of time. You couldn't come if you were like myself and my ancestors. So, let me just say this in the end, and I'm happy to take your questions about this or politics of any kind or anything else that you want to talk about. In the end, look, I understand that we can disagree within our society and amongst ourselves about the rightness or the wrongness, about the need for taking various kinds of drastic actions in the name of protecting security. I understand that we need to have security in order to protect our society. But I suggest we can all attempt to at least understand the impact of these measures on many of our fellow Americans. They're us, they're not them. And they are caught in this web of suspicion, caught in this web of innuendo, with their loyalties questioned, often under duress, and with their psyches damaged. These actions have taken a toll, and they've taken a toll in people amongst us. We have paid a price for it. That's why today, we who call ourselves progressives, and the people in this room I think do, I think we bear a particular responsibility. We have to bear witness to the ongoing attacks and the denials of rights and due process, and they're going on now in this country. We must be among those who will stand up now when few stood up for Japanese Americans in the hour of need during World War II. My point is simple. When some of us, because of our race or our immigrant status or our ethnicity or our religion or our ideas, all of us have ideas in this room, are under suspicion, my point is, aren't we all on the verge of becoming suspect? that's a long list, and it's a long list that applies to all of us. When people are targeted and harassed, when the self-pride and sense of worth of others are assaulted, and these attacks are attacks on dignity and the sense of purpose, the sense of one's own identity, making people go to a war against who they are as a human being, and the heritage and the traditions and the culture that they have. Aren't we all in some ways diminished when we participate in these assaults? In the end, aren't we all damaged in real and profound ways as a nation or as an individual when we tip the scales on this balance against protecting the civil liberties and the civil rights and the dignity of those amongst